As these Audi B8 platform cars continue to advance in age, it becomes very commonplace for the ignition coil harness connectors to come apart. Even when you're trying to be very careful removing these guys, they will still crack into pieces. And so in this video, we're going to be replacing these harness connectors, which unfortunately involves depinning the existing ones and repinning into the new ones. But that's what we're going to do today. Let's go. A quick parts and tool overview. Now, if the only thing you have broken on your car are the actual harness connectors, this is all you'll need here. Here's the part number. All of this stuff you see here was purchased from ECS Tuning at ecstuning.com. These connectors are about $11 a piece. This is a harness cable tray. On my cable tray, this piece here, which is held down by a T30 Torx screw, is cracked off. So for 30 bucks, you can get a completely new tray. And I honestly don't know how difficult this is going to be to swap yet, but it literally just snaps together, so it shouldn't be too terrible. Here's your part number. And finally, this is a connector removal toolkit from Schwaben. I think this was about 30 bucks, and it includes 2 drivers. Each one is a different style pin connector adapter on the end of it, if you will. These 2 are supposed to cover like 90% of the VAG electrical connector types. So I believe the one we'll be using is the thicker, longer one right there. And it also includes this neat little clip removal tool. So instead of manually squishing and pulling on a connector plug, you can use this tool to depress and squeeze all in one movement and simply pull the connector off that way using the tool. So should be pretty neat. Handy to have. Avoid breaking these things again in the future. So we begin by removing this little test port off of its clip and getting it out of our way. T30 Torx holds the harness tray in place. Set the little metal clip aside. And as discussed previously, mine is broken, so it's just pointless. And so every clip on this harness tray, it's just little squeeze tabs, right? So it's a clamshell design. And I'm just using a little flathead screwdriver and starting to just pry at all of these little clips in an effort just to separate them. The biggest challenge is the actual spot on the tray where it secures to the actual connectors. Right here, you see me using a plier to squeeze and apply pressure to the clips while using a flathead to pry the clamshell apart. And of course, there's a fair chance I'm actually breaking this thing at the same time, and that's okay, because it's going to be replaced. However, I do believe that I am miraculously keeping it mostly intact. And of course, it can be argued that, well, who cares if it's kept intact because it's garbage already. But I'm just trying to do it right. You know what I mean? Let's not tear up things any more than we have to and keep it from being messy and flinging little plastic debris everywhere. There it is. Absolute junk. Now, getting a good look at the other side of this deal compared to your previous angle there. See how this is all put together. This bottom shell, the bottom half, you see it's just floating there. And everything is just set inside it including the entire harness. The connectors are just sitting in there, right? And then there is one clip right there that is actually this guy here. That guy is straddling that sensor. So we'll just pull him out like that, and then we'll get the whole bottom tray out. And we'll start working on the connectors and depinning them. Now, interestingly, it appears as though we will have the advantage by having the tray out of the way when it comes to actually working with the connectors. In fact, I think it's obvious at this point that if you were simply just replacing connectors, you would have to remove the top half of the clamshell of the tray anyways, just to get to these guys. So you may as well, under the auspice that you're gonna at least break one or two of these little tabs, you might as well spend 30 bucks while you're doing this job and pick up a new tray. It seems to be pretty mandatory, all things considered. All right, so admittedly, never having done this before, I'm gonna take a guess as to what the easiest way is going to be. And so what I'm gonna do first is pull the harness from the coil packs. Which should give me some pretty good wiggle room all around. These things are toast, man. All right, and so down here is that clip. That just broke right off. There you go. Incredible, man. All right, so we're just gonna kind of fish this guy out of here. I guess that problem kind of took care of itself, didn't it? There's another broken clip. Just losing pieces of it left and right. Wow, okay. All right, so look, firstly, we need to understand how these little connectors even work, right? So you see here on the side, there's a little pink thing, yeah? So that is a retainer clip. If that is in there, you cannot depin a connector. So what you do, take a pick or a little screwdriver, whatever you're working with, stick it down in here, apply simple leverage, and it pops out. You remove this guy, right? And then you can depin. And the way you depin is with your depinning tool. We're going to see how it's got two little holes on top of each slot. We're going to put the tool into the holes, and we're going to press in, and it's going to release the pin's little barbs, and we'll be able to wiggle, while applying pressure with the tool, wiggle the wire out. And so that's how that works. Now look, absolutely imperative is that you pay attention to what color wire goes into which hole. You notice they're different on each connector. Some of them cross over each other. Look at that, right? So the first thing I'm gonna do with cylinder number 1 is I'm gonna take a picture of exactly what that looks like. And I'm gonna do the same thing for each one as I go down the line. That way we don't screw it up, right? That would be a disaster. All right, so starting with this first one, remember the little pink clip inside there, that retainer will prevent us from depinning. So it's gotta come out first. There's that guy. All right, we'll begin with the first one closest to us. It's an orange wire or a red wire. And there it is. First wire's depinned. Moving on to the second one. It's a brown wire with no stripe. That one's depinned. Now there's no real method to this using this tool. But when you stick it in there, you press and just wiggle. Wiggle and pull on the wire. You can't feel a click or anything like that indicating that it's released the barbs. It just kind of does. All right, and number 3 on this connector is a white with black stripe. Just put it in there. Press, wiggle up and down and back and forth. I guess it kind of seats. And there it is. And the final one is a brown wire with a green stripe. Press, wiggle. All right, so that jump connector is for the bushes. Now you see the wires kind of stay in their predetermined spots. Luckily, I didn't plan on that happening, but that's good. All right, so here is our new connector. Remember, first things first, pink retainer has to come out. A little bit of leverage. Pull that guy out of there, set it aside. Now it's probably going to be easiest to go ahead and line all of these wires up inside the holes first and then press them all in. I could be wrong, but that's what we're going to try first. Luckily the wires have retained their positions. I'm confident in that. I remember the colors, they match. I don't need the picture. And so I will just begin lining them all up. Like so. Press the whole thing in as a unit. And number 4 is in. I don't know if you can pick up that audible click, but there is an audible click. 3's in. There it is. It's the slightest little metallic cling. And there it is. Cling. And just like that, our connector is replaced. Don't forget your pink retainer clip. Slide it in like so until you feel a click. Complete. And so here's the final product for our first replacement. Looks great, man. Everything nice and tight. Retainer in. Good to go. And I'm going to repeat the same process for all 4 connectors. And then we'll come back and try and set that cable tray. All right, boys, fast forward quite some time later, I snuck in a fresh PCV. As you can see, all 4 connectors are done. Ran into an issue with the 3rd one with a couple of bent barbs on one of the wires. That was my fault, I guess. But got that straightened out. They're all good to go. And now we're going to try and fish this bottom half of the clamshell tray into position. It certainly helps that it is not completely brittle. So we have that going for us. Remember that fork-shaped clip down here? There we go. Got that into position. Each one of these actuators has a wire that has to be routed. They're kind of already ready already, just due to age and permanent positioning. So we're roughly lined up. These guys, the connectors, seem to just sort of slot into place. Bring the top half in, and this will all just snap into place And I wish it was that easy, but let's see. Aha! Nice positive click. That's it. She's there. Now I'm going to go ahead and release all of these actuators to give me some slack. Alright, so they're all released. Now we have a lot more wiggle. A lot more wiggle. Alright, final step at securing this little guy. Reconnect all of our actuators. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Put our little port right back into place. And guys, our coil pack harness restoration is complete. Look at that. Isn't that lovely? Like brand new. Well, that's all there is to it. So if you have any questions, drop them in the comments down below. Pretty straightforward process. It can be a little tricky here and there. But again, if you have any questions, ask them. I'll answer them. As always, this has been me and that's been you. It's Half Click Up. I'm out here, guys. Peace. Goodbye.